Hello, 7th graders, and welcome to your new project, a time zoo, a menagerie created by evolution, but collected by time travelers like you. So let's go ahead and talk about what this project is going to look like. Well, this is your mission. You'll be given a target creature in class. We've already assigned you one. You will be also given a link to a Google presentation on Schoology. On it, you will be given a set of tasks, just over 5. Your Time Lord teacher will provide you with both instruction and class time to complete each of these 5 tasks. Though some research will be done at home, most of the work can be done in class if you use your time wisely. Now, if you don't use your time wisely, you're going to have a little extra homework, and who doesn't like homework? But this you need to remember. Due dates are fixed points in time, so use your time wisely. Unless you are absent, work is expected to be done on the day is due, and you will not have a chance to go back and fix it later. So this is a project you really need to stay on top of. Now here's an example for you. Let's say you walk in Friday and we give you the creature baryonyx. Well, we're now going to give you some time to do some initial research where you're going to have to look up things like 4 cool facts, some basic taxonomy, some pictures of the fossil and an artist picture, and you're also going to need pictures to support some of your cool facts. So let me use baryonyx as an example. So over here, we see a picture of a fossil of a baryonyx skeleton. Here would be an artist picture of your creature. Now, the full name for baryonyx, the genus and species name, because most of the animals that you're going to be given, but not all, but most of the animals that will be assigned start with the genus name. When we talk about Stegosaurus, Stegosaurus is a genus name. And we'll talk a little bit more about taxonomy in class as part of this project, but your genus and species name is Baryonyx walkeri. Now, please note that we have rules when putting down genus and species name. You either need to underline the genus and species name, or you need to place them in italics, and this is an expectation from you. So don't just use Arial without either changing first into italics or underline. Now, 2 other bits of information that you are going to need to follow is that you're going to need to give us the kingdom and the phylum. Now, for everyone, your kingdom is going to be Animalia. We haven't given any plants or funguses out. But the phylums could be different. Now, if you are a tetrapod or a mammal, a reptile, a dinosaur, you're going to be dealing with family Chordata. However, there are other phylums out there for some of your creatures, so talk to your teacher, Time Lord, and pay attention. Now, down here, you'll see a picture of agari. Agari is a type of endangered crocodile. And one of the cool facts about baryonyx is that the skull of agari is very similar to the skull of a baryonyx, and we believed as a result they have similar feeding behaviors in that they probably eat fish. So, let's move on to the second of your tasks. Now, your second task will be to identify abiotic needs of your creature. In your science class, you probably have already talked about abiotic and biotic factors, and the fact that an ecosystem is made up of the biotic and abiotic factors. Humans need a dry terrestrial environment. We need to have oxygen levels at around 21%. Though humans are intelligent and we can survive in some of the most bizarre climates, given the fact that we don't have a lot of hair, that unless we wear clothing, we are kind of restricted to the tropics. But as we got intelligent and was able to make clothes, we've now been able to insert ourselves in other ecosystems. Now, to help you out in identifying important abiotic needs, we're going to recommend that you look at oxygen, water requirements, and climate. And I've included two graphs here that might help you out. Here is a set of oxygen levels over geologic time. Now, life first evolved here, multicellular life that creates fossils, here in the Cambrian about 550 million years ago. This red line is the 21% that we see today. You can see right here at year 0, we're at 21%. But what you can also see is that oxygen levels have gone both higher and lower than this number. Now down here you see in millions of years. So if you had, for instance, a creature from the Carboniferous period, which is located down here, you'll notice that oxygen levels were much, much higher. Now, when you start designing your project, you need to look at these oxygen levels because you may have to create an enclosed paddock or cage where you can artificially raise the oxygen levels because your giant, for instance, dragonfly, can't survive unless it has these high levels of oxygen. During the Great Permian extinction, oxygen levels dipped very, very low, and that put stress on a number of animals. So if you have a gorgonopsid, for instance, you might talk about their extinction and how oxygen levels went low. Down here, you can see temperatures for planet Earth. Right now, Earth is in a relatively cool period, but there are times where Earth has gotten very warm. Once again, the great dying, that great Permian extinction, you'll notice there was a spike in temperature, and there's some really neat reasons as to why that is. But if you need to, come back to this video, pause it on this slide, and you're going to get some of your data for both climate and oxygen, depending on the age of your fossil. Now, the third task we're going to ask you to do is to create a simple food chain. And our expectations are relatively modest because we understand that unlike an owl, you can't go back to the Cretaceous period and instantly know all of the complex interactions that were going on. But we do expect you to be able to identify a primary producer. This is an organism that takes light from the sun and creates chemical energy. This is going to be in the form of either plants or algae if you are in an aqueous or ocean environment. So if you're on the land, find a plant that would have existed at the time of your organism, and if you have an aquatic creature, any picture of algae will do. Now, you're going to need to identify a primary consumer. This is something we call an herbivore, something that eats plants. In this case, a hadrosaur eats this plant. Now, this hadrosaur is dead because baryonyx, the creature that we are using for the example, was, we believe, a scavenger, much like a vulture or hyena. So you need to star your creature, and in this case, my omnivore carnivore, in this case baryonyx, eats my primary consumer, the dead hadrosaur. Now, we also believe that baryonyx was a fish eater, so you could also have algae being eaten by fish, and then this baryonyx eating this fish. But the same relationships exist in that the algae is a primary producer, the fish is a primary consumer, and you, the baryonyx, being a predator, is a secondary consumer. So your food chain should look something very much like this and or this. Now, for your fourth task, even though a food chain is one biotic factor, we want you to identify one and only one additional biotic factor. Now remember, this can be behaviors like schooling or advanced reproduction behaviors. It could be known migrators or herding behavior. In this case, baryonyx had a very unique hunting behavior. Much like bears, if we look at the claws of bears, they are very similar to the claws of baryonyx. And we believe that they were used for the same purpose, to act as a rake or a sieve by which you could additionally catch fish. So both bears and baryonyx eat fish, and so they both have hands that allow them to catch and eat fish. So this would be a hunting behavior or another biotic factor. Now, your and you're almost at the end here, the last thing you're going to have to do before you assemble everything onto a big old poster is you are going to need to design your paddock. And a paddock is like an expanded cage. It's a cage without walls. Here's an example of a paddock. So you need to think about what plants you want in your paddock, whether you want flowing streams. A creature like baryonyx eating fish might need a flowing stream so we can see natural behaviors. We can see the baryonyx going and trying to catch fish. So, and remember, all of your creatures are being pulled out of the timeline, so these aren't clones. These are real creatures that lived in complex ecosystems, and you're going to try to create a paddock. And you do need to label your paddock, sometimes maybe including biotic and abiotic factors, again, things like climate, oxygen, water content. It could be a complete fish tank for things like ancient fish or the eurypterids. Or it may be very, very dry for your land creatures. Or you might need cliffs or purchases for birds of various sorts. So really be creative. Think about what your biotic and abiotic needs for your creature are and synthesize that all into your paddock design. So let's review very quickly. You are going to need on Friday to make a personal copy of the Google slide presentation. And this is going to be better than this video in telling you exactly what you need to do and how the points are being awarded. This video is just a quick reminder of the big picture. Now, please use your class time for research well. Unless you really like homework, you will be given a big chunk of class time to get this done. But if you sit there talking to your friends, well, now you're going to have to do this project research at home. And please remember, we are going to be looking at the quality of this presentation. Remember also that due dates are fixed. Because this project builds on what you are researching, you need to stay on top of things. You can't start designing your paddock if you don't know your abiotic and biotic needs. You don't know how to feed your organism unless you've done a food chain. Now, this is exciting. The top 5 to 6 posters, and this will be judged by non-science teacher judges. They will be some of your other teachers, but we are going to post all of these posters when they are done with your brochure on them in the hallway outside the 4th floor science rooms for middle school. And we are going to invite some administrators to come up and ask them which of these enclosures would they like to invest in if they were helping us build a zoo. And the top 5 to 6 posters, depending if there are any ties, will get and you don't know what this means exactly yet until the EE trip, but you will get a unique card for the Happy Zombie Apocalypse game. And this unique card is something you want. More about that later. So guys, that's an overview of the whole project. We wish you the best of luck, and your Time Lord teachers are very much supporting your travels through time. Have a great day.